Welcome back to Truth Quest. My name is Aaron Moriarity. I will be your host. We're going to go on a quest for truth together. And tonight, friends, we have a special guest for you, Yon Friedmann, returning guest with the T.W.I.N.S Project. Welcome back to the show, Yon.
Thank you, Aaron.
Well, you're very welcome. Before we get started here, I just want to say thank you to Catherine Weiss, first one here, and she gave a very generous super chat. So thank you very much, Catherine. That helps to keep the show going. Thank you very much. And Artist61 just joined us. Hello there. So, yeah. So how are you doing, Yon?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you very much. I have no complaints. Enjoying my life as I am in this life, like I believe myself to be, as I believe all of us are actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being non-physical souls, or spirits, you might say, having a life, a human life-long experience, and each of us chose a persona that we happen to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, having learned that and had experiences supporting that idea, I've come to realize that everything that is in my personal life, as I believe as it is in everyone's, is self-created opportunity rather than a plus or a minus or a negative or a positive or a good or bad. Even though we all seem to make that choice on a regular basis about our experiences, I suspect it's because we forget that we created it. But not for the damage or any damage, but I think it's for an opportunity. So that's what I feel brought me to these T.W.I.N.S projects.
Yes.
Because,
Okay.
I feel what basically they are is the idea of building a planetary living system, literally, to serve our population, our civilization, rather than small countries, small regions, because the system we live under right now is a centralized system. In other words, it's a ruler system. Wherever you look, something is always seems to be in charge and controlling that situation. It affects other things down the line, so to speak. So, having observed that and part of that system, the central system, I've come to realize that perhaps we need to look at building a decentralized system, which is what these T.W.I.N.S projects are. And it's not practical to build it across the planet in one time. So I've been slowly designing them a nation at a time or a region at a time, and presenting it in that way to perhaps get interest from someone who's connected to that government or region that could assist in making the project go forward. So that is what brought me this day to discuss the idea of Sri Lanka. Now, I know that many of us are aware of the news items about Sri Lanka in recent weeks and days, that their president, their former president, left the country with money in hand and, needless to say, other corrupt things, and left the country in destitute and basically bankrupt. Again, this is the nature of a centralized system. So to be critical of that is futile. It doesn't solve the issue. And the concern might be that the new regime, which, as a matter of fact, is going to be appointed apparently by the end of this week, may be following the same concept of a centralized system.
Mm-hmm.
So at this time, because of this particular timing, I felt it may be excellent time to present the T.W.I.N.S projects for Sri Lanka, which involves basically establishing 10 T.W.I.N.S self-starting units, one each in each capital city of the country. And there are 10 to be fulfilled. So if we build these 10 units, we cannot build them all at once because the cost is prohibitive, and it would not be wise to risk a great deal of money for something that is likely to work, but it may or may not have other features that need to be developed. In the case of Sri Lanka, for example, there are basically two phases. The first phase would be to build a T.W.I.N.S complex with an intervertical farm in Colombo, either in Colombo or between Colombo and Kate. These are the two very populated areas. And that particular complex will be connected to the nearest international airport, which is about 18 miles away. In order to facilitate travelers who come into Sri Lanka to the international airport, have easy and quick access to the stations. Now, once the first station is completed, the cost of that station, just to give an example of what the cost relationship is between phase 1 and phase 2 cost factors. The phase 1 will cost $1.612 billion, which means you build the complex, you build the international airport connection, you build an airport portal, and you build 1,000 capsules that will be traveling inside the tubes, which is the advanced transport system that is included in this program. And so $1.612 billion is the cost of just phase 1. Now, phase 2 is $21.405 billion. The reason it's much more because the connections between the cities, the capital cities, is where the high cost is. Now, I presumed in these figures, this is a high-end number, because I presumed a cost of $29 million per mile. At that high price is how we got to $21.4 billion. But if we do this overground, or partially overground, then the cost gets reduced by 2/3. It's very substantial. So the total Sri Lanka project, if we have to build it underground and the phase 1 being completed, is $23 billion total. Now, in view of the fact that Sri Lanka has been basically brought to bankruptcy because of the previous regime, and we don't really know what the new regime is going to bring, except it's very likely to be also a centralized system, which means whoever's in charge or be in office is likely to be involved in some form of profit. And again, I'm not saying that this is wrong, because it's not wrong. But it is an observation that caused me to bring forth this other T.W.I.N.S idea of building a parallel system, which would be the decentralized system. Mm-hmm. So now the concern is, how do you get to finance this kind of project? Because these are billion-dollar projects. Not only this one, but the others are also billion-dollar projects, and follow basically the same format where the initial cost of phase 1 is always substantially lower than the entire project, because there's great benefits that are realized from such a format, which is debugging the system, importing whatever's necessary, and of course, the key issue, of course, is financing. So, to finance the Sri Lanka project, for example, I have determined that the best approach that we have here, and because of the natural resources that are found in Sri Lanka, if we can have that nation hypothecate those natural resources equal to the amount of the required cost of the project, then we can get this done virtually without any cash in hand. Now, the collateral is what this natural resource is, because we would now go to Wall Street once we have an agreement with the nation in writing of some kind, and they would agree to basic terms and functions that everyone has to agree to. We will go with that formula to Wall Street and explain to them how this has to be done, because we're going to need to have the money raised in Wall Street, because that's where the money is going to come from. And we will probably want to do a bond issue that will be secured by these natural resources. Now, to hypothecate the natural resources, there has to be a way to deliver them by some liquid form. So for these guarantees, the bond guarantees, there's going to be negotiated agreements with third parties who will buy the natural resources that are going to be used as collateral. Okay?
Okay.
Now, based on this recipe, and by the way, this idea is one that I came up with as a former banker. So I'm understanding how this central system works. And I understand that it's about money and banking. It's about making profits. It's about being secured or collateralized for the investor community. We have to go to the investors with a program that gives them some form of guarantee so their risk is absolutely minimized, because we need their money. And this is the way these projects are likely going to be financed, because this formula will work. So from this point forward, what we need to do, and why I am very appreciative, Aaron, for you allowing me to do these programs here, is because these are programs for the benefit of our civilization. One country at a time, one region at a time. We cannot do this all at one time. It's not going to happen. And the centralized system that we now live in cannot be changed. This is not changeable. This is creating something to exist parallel to it, and getting our civilization to focus on building things rather than destroying things.
Yes.
And we're not going to get everyone to do that right away. But as long as I can continue and discuss these things online and with programs like yours, I think it's very important to expose the idea to the public. Because if we focus, which we have the ability to do, on constructive things like building these T.W.I.N.S projects, and not focusing on the war things like the Russia-Ukraine thing, which is also solvable by these T.W.I.N.S, as we discussed last time, so that we can end up with a new focus for our civilization that is very much pro-humanity and pro-progressive. And more importantly, I don't know how many listeners will realize this, but the sooner we start perceiving ourselves as a civilization, we'll be opening ourselves to other existing civilizations in our universe. That's how the universe works. We become magnets because we start to think on the same level as they do.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, we're able to communicate and suddenly build things and become extremely innovative because we come to realize that we are not limited beings. We're actually unlimited. You just have to do that. Practice being unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we are.
Yeah.
We are wonderful beings, wonderful creative beings. And we have the right and the power to live our lives any way we choose. And that's why truth is there's nobody right or wrong who lives here. Because there's something about their own personal evolution that we do not know and can't know. So how can we really be judgmental? Judgmental we can be, but not critical.
Right.
We're not qualified to be critical.
I have a quote of mine that says something like, being judgmental is being judge-mental. There you go.
That's evaluating, basically. That's the difference.
Yes.
Being judgmental is evaluating.
Yes.
Being critical is taking a side.
Uh-huh.
You see. And that's where the problem usually comes up, because no one's really qualified to be critical of anyone else, because we all clearly have our own choices we make for our personal evolution of the non-physical soul that we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we happen to be now in human life form, but this is not the only form we inhabit. There's so many lives in different forms in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't get it all from one. And if we could, we'd probably be just a one human being, and that's it. But clearly, you and I are talking, so there's these two of us. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this Sri Lanka idea. And I would very much like to hear and see someone who may have a connection to that government to bring it to their attention during this transition period, where this kind of a program will actually solve that nation's problem, in addition to being able to be self-sustaining indefinitely versus being dependent indefinitely, which is what the centralized system does. So this new regime that comes in, if we can just get them to hear this idea, I'll talk to them and discuss it in detail, explain everything I know how this can actually get done. And I do believe this can get done because the money question is answered. And that's why I feel we need to get to the government. If we can get them to agree, then we can go to Wall Street. Wall Street will raise the money because they see the agreement with the country. So they'll go out and raise the billions that we need against the collateral. The United States will benefit from the program because the raw materials to start these projects are going to come from the United States to begin with. So it's going to stimulate the economies, not only of the country where these are going to be built, but it's going to be stimulating the economy of the United States in a very significant way and create new technology industries, because supplies have to come from somewhere, and it must come from the United States because that's who's contributing the money. Their people, our people. And that is how I see this coming together. Everybody participates. It's not one-sided. There's no just one winner at all. It's not how this is structured. It's structured for everyone to win. And as soon as you build the first station, you already are beginning a self-sustaining system.
Mm-hmm.
And the people in Sri Lanka right now need that very badly.
Yeah.
Very badly. And again, they're not coming to change how they live. They're just coming to make sure that they can live indefinitely and no longer be dependent on any other country. Again, period.
Nice.
Period.
I think that's a grand goal. That's incredible. I got up on the screen now your map of Sri Lanka with all of the T.W.I.N.S nodes in place
Oh,
there.
yes.
Yeah. Now that's a very
Yes.
they've got lots of really ancient structures there. You know, I'm assuming Hindu temples and all kinds of amazing artifacts and history there.
Yes, there is.
And
it needs to be secured. And the best way I feel might be is give folks another living option environment.
Mm-hmm.
And that way we will end up respecting what we've already made up to now. Because, you know, so far we seem to be digging things up to find out our past.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I think that we're going to change in terms of these stations when people travel in these tubes quickly and in so many different places.
Mm-hmm.
I think these cities, these capital cities, are going to be tourist attractions.
Yeah.
I think that's so. I think what's going to happen because we will see how we lived in a more current basis rather than digging it up. And I think there'll be tours in capitals for people to see how it was, how people lived in cities. Because I don't think we'll be doing that for too much longer. You know, in our lifetime, I think we'll still be doing that. But, you know, it seems that based on what I'm observing activity-wise in this world right now, it's almost like it's the last hurrah. So I'm coming. I can't feel the other way. It's almost like, you know, this system is feeling its end days, you might say, or something is, because of the extremism that we're seeing. And extremism usually comes up when there's feelings of desperation that something is coming to an end. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel that's what we're observing in politics.
Yeah, you know, Andrew Bishago was mentioning the other day that about your T.W.I.N.S project. He was wanted me to bring this up, asking me if I could bring this up. I think it's a good idea. In one of his 100 proposals, he has protecting the legality of self-reliance. And that's really what the T.W.I.N.S project will do, because in his proposal here, he says self-reliance is a civic virtue, an American tradition, and the first guarantor of national security. Yet we are living in a country where community gardens are being bulldozed by city, and citizens are being jailed for impounding water on their own property. So yeah, people who are sick of the system and want something where they could be more in control of their own destiny, I think is good. But that's a pretty good one that Andrew did.
Yeah. Well, Andrew and I are on the same page about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so really, because of humanity, is, you know, I'm not looking to save humanity. I'm just looking to do the best I can as one human out of all of us.
Yeah.
Because I'm just a piece of everybody and vice versa. And I want to just practice what feels right and what I'm qualified to do. I don't think I would do it otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not egotistically speaking at all.
Right.
I'm honestly looking at my historical background in this life, and I got to tell you, all the things that I've done have almost easily been preparation for what I'm doing right here, right now.
Yeah.
No question about it.
I would say so. Yeah.
These are very, very not complicated, because a problem can't exist without a solution, and vice versa. So this is a wonderful idea, and I thought it through so it doesn't become an opposition to this system.
Mm-hmm.
You see, because if I was to do it as an opposition, then that would be an attempt to change this system, and it would never allow that to happen, because it's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So I came to realize that these T.W.I.N.S projects have to be presented as a parallel idea to this system and not changing it. Because there's going to be people, individuals who are going to stick in this system, which I understand and respect their right to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But there'll be others who don't want to do that, who want to live as a civilization, knowing that they're not only responsible for themselves of what they do, but what they do affects others, and that's also a responsibility. And this is where I believe we're heading. But it has to be a personal choice. It cannot be like a government law, okay, which is what right now exists. Everything is by law, by government law.
Mm-hmm.
And the government become its own power, its own entity, even though it pretends to be a representation
Mm-hmm.
of something else, in this case, the people. But that is not the fact if you look at how it behaves. And this behavior is very self-motivated. Again, not wrong, but it is the nature of this system to be self-serving. And all the individuals in government almost.
Mm-hmm.
The administration, Congress, many of them are doing what they do for the money. In all honesty, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's not wrong, but it's not in the interest of our collective civilization. It's not what they're doing.
Right.
So we can't change their ways, because that's not going to happen. What we can do is come up with an idea that we can actually build something that can literally live and exist in parallel to this system,
Mm-hmm.
without needing to compete with it. Because not everyone in the system is going to be in the T.W.I.N.S project. Just not.
I have
This is perfectly clear.
I have a question for you, Jan.
Yes.
What is the size or the diameter of some of these domes you're talking about in the T.W.I.N system?
Each unit will be, depending on the size, their location, will be 3 to 5 square miles. The domes are going to be within that. They may be 1 square mile per dome.
Wow. Okay.
They're
Now,
huge. And they're all retractable.
Okay.
They have to be retractable because the flexibility is very important.
Uh-huh.
Because depending where we are and where the climate is like.
Yeah.
You see.
Sure.
Because some areas may be wonderful climate most of the year, and you leave those domes open. But there's other times when something comes up in the same region, you have to protect what's inside.
Yeah.
So you close the dome.
You close the dome, and you put the screen dome up to keep mosquitoes out. That's what you do, right? Keep the screen dome. Now, I went on the intranet today, and I was looking up clear domes, and I found some pretty interesting ones. I'm just going to show you what I found, and this might give people a little idea of the kind of scale you're talking about here. They're pretty impressive. like with whole
Yes.
cities inside. Very beautiful. So yeah, so here you go, folks. I mean, it's not like Jan was the first person to think of domes, but he's incorporating it into an entire system. So with transportation via tubes. So very.
Yeah.
I have to say, I bet you I can guess what your favorite cartoon was. Was it Jetsons, perhaps?
No, I don't think I ever watched that.
Really? Oh, you should watch it. I was very
No.
influenced by it. Very influenced by it. Yes, it's a vision of the future from the '60s or the '70s, wherever it was. Um,
Yeah. But this really came to me first as a united idea, united project for our civilization across the oceans. That was my first idea that I actually received a patent for.
okay.
Because what I visualized was building 12 floating stations, floating twin stations across the ocean, 12 of them, and basically connect from each location to land.
Yeah.
Yeah. But because I foresaw our civilization or part of it living in the oceans or on the water. And then below the surface is where we connect the tubes.
Mm-hmm.
And the tubes are below the surface. You can travel to 4,000 miles an hour there.
Wow.
In these capsules. So 4,000 miles an hour. Geez, you can go around the world in, a little over 6 hours.
Man,
That's it.
I don't know if I could.
All the way around.
I don't know if I can handle going that fast. My goodness, I get a little queasy on the roller coaster these days. But maybe.
Well, you don't even realize you're going that fast because you're in a capsule.
Okay.
You don't even feel it because you're levitated. The capsule's levitated by magnets. It's a magnet system.
Okay.
So there's no friction. You don't feel anything.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting idea. But a better and more interesting idea, I think, is teleportation.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's what I feel is going to come up in the very near future. Because I don't know how much longer the secret industry is going to be able to hold that as a secret.
Right.
From the time we've been doing it since 1980s, the Project Mars.
Yeah.
That the CIA was involved with, and others, and this is things that Andy talked about and familiar with, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the future, but we have to build it. See, is my feeling, Aaron. I feel very strongly that it cannot be done by changing that system. It can't be done that way. If you do it that way, you're not going to succeed because you're going to be perceived as an enemy of the system. And the system is way too large.
Yeah.
It's just way too large. And so that's what I feel we're about to do. But we have to do it. This is not going to happen by chance. There's no savior coming down and to do it for us. Okay? It's not what's going to happen.
Right.
We created this reality. We're going to create another reality. And that's how it works.
Yeah.
And it's going to work. It's going to be great.
Sounds good to me.
Really, really good.
Sounds good to me. Let's everyone get your shovel out and let's start working on this thing.
Well, I'm at it. Starting like today with this conversation we're having about Sri Lanka,
mm-hmm.
and then a week from today, on next Monday, there's going to be another event that I'm going to participate in down at the Los Angeles Convention Center with people from India putting on a program. Yes, I'll be speaking about India because I think that's also another area that can be done and structured with twins, basically stations. In that case, There are 29 of them, and connecting all the state capitals. And I think that is a good way to deal with India, because they too have, financial and other issues going on.
Mhm.
And they need to consider building a parallel system that will relieve their population from a lot of the traffic that they're experiencing, as you know, with the trains and all the other means of transportation that are not very efficient. But again, if we bring these T.W.I.N.S projects to them, not only will they have an advanced way to live, but they're going to have an advanced way to be employed
Mhm.
and generate income that they wouldn't have had before, because these things have to be built. And after you build them, you have to operate them. And after they're operated, there's going to be production, produce from the internal vertical farms that has to be distributed, harvested, distributed.
Mhm.
And first you provide it for the population in the T.W.I.N.S complex. And the extra you sell to the outside community to generate enough money to bring back more seeds to continue the production. So it never stops.
Yeah.
And that's the program.
Awesome.
And just, East Asian is secure. And it's sovereign territory, just like Andrew Shagler said. Each one will be sovereign territory and not connected to the government. That where it's located. That's very, very important, because that's the way we remain independent and free and under our own rule, and not be subject to next week's regime where they might have. And we'll also have security teams internally and externally. All the units will have shield technology from the outside. Because I kind of realize that we have to protect ourselves even from our host nation and from our host region. This is important because they're not going to be able to protect us, or will they want to? It's up to us to do that. So we're going to have shield technology protecting our domes, as you say. They're all going to be shielded. Nothing will be able to penetrate. So it's very, very futuristic, advanced, but there's nothing that I'm saying that is beyond our ability to do.
Okay, that sounds great. You might want to make sure the dome is going to be woodpecker proof, because those things can do a lot of damage.
Well, maybe we'll use hemp material.
Yeah, we'll put pictures of owls all
very,
over.
very strong and very capable.
Or you can just
Totally.
put pictures of owls
Yes,
all
sir,
over.
fine.
It keeps them away.
Oh yeah, it's a great product. There's so much can be done with it that is durable, and you can even make plastic out of it. You know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that the other day online. You can make plastic out of it.
Yeah, you can make plastic out of a lot of things. In fact, when I was working at Hasbro, we were working with a company that was trying to find applications for a product they developed called Clusol. And it's made from trees. And it's a water-soluble plastic. And I came up with some preschool construction toys utilizing this stuff. And it's quite interesting. In fact, they already use Clusol in a lot of food products, and they don't even have to list it as an ingredient. And it can be like up to, I think, 17%. Like when you eat ice cream or ketchup or lots of foods, sometimes it can be like over 10% Clusol, which is from trees. It's renewable, it's from trees, but yeah.
That's quite a bit.
But hemp can make, you can make anything out of hemp. No wonder they outlawed it, right? How many industries could it supplant? But
well, yeah, I don't know if you know the history about the hemp business. William Randolph Hearst and his group of J.P. Morgan are the ones who made it outlawed it. because J.P. Morgan had a whole bunch of forests that he wanted to use for paper for his publishing company.
Great greed.
So he contrived and made hemp basically illegal, so that it wouldn't be competitive against his forests.
Unreal.
I know. Again, that's a centralized system. They're all about the money and greed. They don't care about the people at all. But they have a right not to do that. That's how we have a right to create something fresh.
Right. Now, in San Francisco, you'll see the streetcars and a few other places, but those used to be very plentiful all over the country until the oil companies and the tire companies banded together and offered cities buses real cheap with cheap gas if they would get rid of their streetcars. And most of them did. So yeah, you're right that it's all greed. And as soon as they got rid of the streetcars, guess what? The price of the bus rides went up.
So, we're not going to change their way, Aaron. It's not going to happen. So, but we can do is, like I say, build something fresh, build something from scratch. But we need them for their money. We need their money. So I figured out how we're going to have their money, because their greed is what's going to bring them into our formula. It's because they're going to want to get a piece of the action and get interest on their money and participate in equity, possibly. All these things that people do in the investment community. So we won't disappoint them, but we're not going to be foolish either. We're business people too. We're not going to give the house away. But we want to get this done. And that's what I'm going to keep focusing on.
Awesome.
Is keep talking about it until we get people who hear this, who may have connections to a country. It doesn't matter which country, by the way. Because I can always draft up a proposal for that country.
Yeah, there you go.
There's something good. The next one is India. India will be shown next Monday. And then after that, I don't know, maybe Brazil. That's because these places have natural resources. Okay? And that's the way this is probably going to have to get done, because I don't think any of these countries have money to do it. They don't.
Right.
But what they usually have is some natural resource, even though it's still in the ground sometimes and most of the time. There's a way that you can pledge that resource to somebody who really uses it, and so they can get it out of the ground and accumulate enough of it in the side that you want to cover the cost of your bond. So now you have no exposure. The bond people don't have any exposure. Not only that, because of the investor community, how it operates, somebody's going to want to take some of the money that we raise and put it into some kind of a trading program. If you do that, and you involve cryptos and other stuff like that, it's possible you can raise enough money or earn enough money to more than double the initial amount that you needed to do the projects. If you do that, then you take that second half of the money that you raised and you pay off the bondholders to buy the bonds. And now you have no debts, and you have a great facility that you own free and clear.
Yeah.
So that's how I'd like to see this happen. I don't want to have debt if you can avoid it, because debt is part of this system. That's how they keep you hostage.
Yeah. You gotta pay off the bonds, especially the James bonds. You gotta pay off that. Would you like to take questions? I can put a little link.
Yes, I would.
Well, let's put this link in to the chat. And if you have a question, you certainly can call in and pose your question to Yon. And it looks like Cheryl's in the house. Welcome to the program, and everybody else. Dark Brain, Mud Rabbit, Mad Pogue, Dale D, Artist 61. A lot of people watching today. So thanks for coming on by, folks. So while we wait for someone to call, feel free to call in. You might have a question about the T.W.I.N.S projects that we've been talking about here. And you can ask the man himself. He's right here.
Mhm.
Yon Friedmann with the T.W.I.N.S project. Here
By
we
the way,
are.
the Sri Lanka Project divides that island in half, almost exactly in half, really.
Okay, let's get that back up here and take a look at it. Yeah. There it is. Yeah. Looks like it's pretty evenly.
Yeah, these are all the capital cities.
Yeah, interesting place, Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
It's shaped like a drop of water, isn't it? It's shaped like a teardrop or a raindrop.
Yes, it is.
And boy, I don't know if you've seen any of those ancient Hindu temples, but that they have in India and probably Sri Lanka too. They're just incredible. I mean, they've got highly detailed stone sculptures all over these things, like many stories high, built thousands of years ago, or 1,000 or 2,000 years ago. Incredible stuff.
Yes.
Unreal. Unreal how they are able to do that. I mean, it's just fascinating.
Yeah, even the pyramids and all that other things that were built. How did they move those giant stones? There had to be a way. There had to be a way.
A lot of people are saying it's sound waves that they used, maybe some kind of tuning fork that they made or something.
Okay.
Or just chanting a certain way could create the sound waves possibly. Well,
yeah, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way they were able to do it. Some people think there were ETs involved in some cases. But I'm not sure because everything from Egypt on is all based on rulers. It's all based on gods.
Yeah.
All gods. Somebody in charge. Somebody ruling over somebody else.
Yeah. And
that idea just kept being passed on into the pharaohs and the kings, queens. We have today. That's where it comes from. And now the truth is that we really are not ruled by anything. It's not the nature of our being. It's not who we are.
Right.
Yes, we have the choice. We can do that, give up our power. But the truth is that we're really independent beings making our own choices for everything that we do, everything in our lives, without exception. And it's all for opportunity. All. At the end of opportunity, it's always positive result. Always. Because something is learned. And when you learn it, you don't need to relearn it, you might say. So you don't have to repeat the exercise of how you found out that part of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, no one's called in yet, but that's okay. I'm looking to see if there's any questions there. You can type your question in too. Hopefully I can see it. Welcome to Plural Laura. Welcome to the program. Let's see. I'm not seeing any questions yet. Everyone's all nice and comfy in the chat here. And Mud Rabbit, one of our mods, said, I was in Aldi's today wearing my Invisimask tee, and someone stopped me and read it. I told her about the show, so hopefully she drops in. So that's cool. Yeah. Wearing a t-shirt can help bring awareness too. So that's cool. So maybe Jan should maybe make up some Twins t-shirts to help fund it, to get it off the ground. Maybe that could help.
The only thing is, I'm not doing this for money. The money will come from the financing.
Right.
You know, I really am not. I'm not
Well,
looking to raise a little money to keep me going, or keep whatever I want to do. It's just from my heart. This is not from my wallet.
Right.
And,
right.
You know, it just feels right to me to do this. I'm not looking to raise money because, you know, honestly, I would feel guilty. Because why would I take somebody's money when I'm not ready to perform or do what I said I want to do? You know, I would feel like I'm taking advantage of somebody, using the project as a front of some kind to do that.
Well,
and that would make me feel terrible.
Well, you could sell the t-shirts for $21 billion a piece, and then you only have to sell a couple of them. There you go.
Well,
then they'd know that they're investing and they got something to show for it. So Cheryl asks, did Jan talk about healthcare in the Twins system? I think we did touch on that a little bit before, but what are your thoughts on healthcare in the Twins system?
Well, the healthcare is going to be also unique in that it will not be like this system operates, because healing is going to be the primary way to deal with everyone. With healers, with natural herbs and remedies before any drugs, medications, because I don't feel that is a solution to maintaining the body's well-being. Okay?
Yeah.
The system that we live in is not about saving lives. It's about keeping it going so they can continue to profit from it.
Yeah. Sad.
And then in Twins world, it's the opposite. We want people to live as long as they want to live in a comfortable body.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we understand that the body that we're in is a choice we made. This is not the end of the world for us, even though I understand many think it is. It's not. We're non-physical beings. That's who we really are. And as we have these human life form experience, you know, enjoy the personality, see where it takes you, because that's what you're doing. But that personality is temporary, as is the body that you occupy. But because there's already another one waiting for you to go on with. And that's the way it is. We don't wait for another body. It already exists, because, you know, in time is simultaneous. It's not linear, even though we created it to be linear in a sense so we can look at the detail of things that change within that idea in more detail.
Cheryl.
So because...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that as we evolve into understanding that this is an experience here, it's not the end of everything. It's a continuation. And live our life in that way and appreciate everything that we create as an opportunity, and not needing to say it's right or wrong or good or bad. Because it's not. It may be good or bad for somebody else, but the opposite for you.
Right.
So that's because we're on our own body. They're in their body. They see things their way. We see things our way. And we're both right for what we need to do in our life. Both of them, or all of us.
And
so the health industry is important. We have to have ways for people to learn how to be self-healing, learn about the structure of the physical body, how it works and what it does. And so we can actually manage it in a very positive way. and keep it healthy all the time instead of getting it depressed, because that's all coming from psychological thoughts and belief systems. So all this is learned. We're going to learn all this. We're going to practice it, more important. I believe we have a wonderful future.
Yes.
In healthy bodies, and our life expectancy will be probably up to 120 to 130 years. That's what's probably going to happen.
Cheryl clarifies her question. She says, I was actually asking about surgery or broken bones, dental, etc. So I guess.
Well, all that is healable. All that can be dealt with. But there will be no drugs, no pharmaceuticals, because that's not a solution. In most cases, they're very damaging. So we'll find a natural remedy to deal with pain or anything like that. Because there are natural remedies. You don't have to go to those pharmaceuticals.
But if you get a broken bone, there'll be some place to go to get it fixed.
Yeah. There's an emergency room always available, 24/7, in every single facility.
Well, that's good to know.
24/7.
Of course.
Yeah, there has to be.
Sure, there has to be.
So if something happens, somebody breaks a bone, there's got to be a way to deal with any emergency that comes up for any individual. And that's what we do. This is by having a 24/7 facility in each location that has a doctor and at least another nurse on staff available on a regular basis. We'll rotate them around.
Cheryl says thank you. Thank you.
What's that?
Cheryl says thank you.
Oh.
For answering her question. Yeah. Well, that's good. That was a good question. A good answer. That's awesome.
Oh, it's the truth. It's we need to be self-sustaining. That's part of it. We take care of our own, take care of ourselves. And even these doctors are not going to be salaried.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be probably employed on the outside somewhere and be salaried there, but they are going to be paid an equal amount like every other citizen in the complex. Everyone gets a $2,500 a month. Debit card, credit. And that's what they're used to buy things and whatever else they want to use.
Yeah.
But these debit cards will be not issued by banks. It's not going to be connected to the banking system, to the IMF and all that. It's going to be connected to the Commerce Department. And the Commerce Department will be where the debit cards are going to be issued, because it deals with commerce. It makes sense. So that's the program that sort of have in mind for that. Awesome. The educational system also is very important, because it's going to include school facilities that will be teaching self-sustaining ideas. From the time a child is 9 years old, you begin to learn how to be a gardener. You learn how to farm. You learn how to grow plants, how to seed, how to harvest, and then how to distribute, and how to tell the good and how the produce is and what condition it's in while it's growing. You learn all these things. And then as you get older, if you're 10 years old and 11, you start to learn other things. You're exposed to different trades, different ideas, different things that interest you as a person, and then allow you to focus in that direction. Rather than telling you where you should focus, it's wiser to let the person that has an interest in an area tell you where they want to focus. Because then they'll be very productive and creative from that point of view. So there's a lot of things like that that are going to be going on, even when you get to age 16, let's say, grade 11. That's where you learn about business, learn how business works, how business operates. So you understand their world too.
Mhm.
And when you get to the 12th grade, you learn about forming companies if that's what you want to do, if you want something you want to sell. Because by then you understand that the world, the decentralized world, the buying and selling. That's what it is. And it gives the person, the individual, an excellent chance to survive in the society. Because they've learned trades, they've learned things that actually are very functional. Very functional.
Mhm.
On a personal level and for the society. So I think this is what's, again, missing from this system that is here, because, it seems to be focused on teaching and training students things that they want you to know and learn rather than things that are of interest to the individual. So I think that's the approach that the T.W.I.N.S educational system will follow.
Interesting.
Following the interest of the person and allowing them and giving them all the information and doorways to learn as much as possible about it. So that once they know all of that, if not more, they'll probably come up with ideas to enhance our society in some way
Mhm.
from what they learn and figure out how to make it even better. So we all benefit, all of us,
Awesome.
because not everyone can. Yeah. So
Dark
that's how I think.
Dark Brain asks, would self-sufficient apply to university education careers? Would people need to be evaluated for aptitude and placed into necessary career paths, workers, technicians, scientists, etc.?
No. And the reason is no, because each individual will follow their own interest and not what program they're being told to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where the difference will lie. And as far as getting credentials and education and stuff, once a person masters an area and applies it, they don't need to have a credential, a master's, a PhD, or a bachelor's of any degree, because the degrees do not substantiate someone's ability.
Right.
They only show that you're able to study in a particular way that you're being told to study, and are able to pass those courses that you're presented with, which have nothing to do with creativity.
That's right.
It's all memory work. It's all memory work.
Do you know how many degrees I have?
What's that?
Do you know how many degrees I have?
How many?
98.6, and I have even more when I got a fever. That's it. How many more do you need, right?
Yeah.
Oh, looks like we got another question from Cheryl. Would laws be the same as the outside? Jails, juries? Question mark.
Outside jail?
So would laws be the same as the outside, like with jails and juries and trials and judges and things like this?
No, because there is no centralized system. That's
Okay.
only in a centralized system.
Okay.
Each unit is on its own merits. It's governed by its own administration.
Okay.
And the administration shifts on a regular basis. So no one could ever get control and power over any unit.
Okay.
It can't happen.
Interesting.
It's like term limits, is really what I'm saying.
Good. Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. This system misses that.
Okay.
The central system the system should abolish the political parties. And if it did that, everything would straighten out. But they're not going to do that, because that's where their power is. And where they hide their money taking and money laundering and all the things that they do for money. But again, they have a right to do that. But we have a right to build something new.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to focus.
There you
So
go.
building, not destroying.
Awesome. Well, we're putting the links out there to call in. We got a couple questions from the chat. So And if no one calls in, that's okay too. But it's there if you want to ask. Yes. Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. So now it's your contention also that once these T.W.I.N.S projects are erected in various different countries, in that country, it could be a stabilizing factor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly why Sri Lanka should do this. Because it will create mass employment, not only right away when we build it, but for the long term, because, you know, you still have to have people running it inside. And there's a lot of activities going on in these things. There's restaurants, there's markets, there's supermarkets, there's theaters, there's sports arenas, there's everything that a human being would want to have available on a really wonderful scale. And this is the idea. It's time for us to look at something like this, and I will do all I can to make it happen. And I welcome anyone and everyone to join in and help make this real, make it happen, because it can be done, and it will be done.
Yeah, it has to. It's too cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. We're looking at the domes again. These domes are pretty cool.
Yeah, the domes are. I think that's a great looking complex. That middle one that you see on the graph, you see the floating one, that's an energy producer. That's solar energy and other energy producers in the middle of the ground. And it's distributed to all the other domes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But again, you know, I'll get engineers to figure that out and draw the engineering of that, because I'm not an engineer, but I did follow a great deal of logic and understand things like this. Yeah.
And so the center one is the energy producer. Okay. Very cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I really think that, well, the scientists that sign up, it's going to be interesting to see when this gets rolling, some of the scientists that will end up signing up for this and bringing some of their breakthrough technologies that the other world won't, or is too shy to bring forward or won't bring forward. So, and, you know, an opportunity to do things like redesign the solar panel to make it much more efficient, you know, a different way of doing it, because we should be able to get all the power we need from the sun. It's just that their solar panels are so inefficient. In fact, they're so inefficient that a couple of years ago they announced they designed a darkness panel that creates energy from darkness. It works on the same principle as the solar panel. They both produce very little electricity. It just needs to be better. It needs to be improved. So if anyone looks into the technology of solar panels, it's pretty lame, actually. Pretty lame. So we need to redo that.
Nikola Tesla figured out a way to free energy in the first place. But, you know, people with money and power took over and didn't want that to happen. You know, it's very typical of a centralized system.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted, Thomas Edison in that case was the man. And his buddies, they just didn't want free energy. They don't want anything free. They want people to pay for everything.
It's terrible.
And, you know,
terrible.
Well, the governments are no different. So they call it taxes. You know, they tax us to death. They want tax a piece of the action for everything we do. That's really what that is.
Yeah.
It's very criminal. I hate to say it, but it is.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not going to change their ways, but I'm going to see about building these twins. That's the way out of this.
Okay.
People will have a great place to visit and enjoy and travel and just no more. No more. Unless they want to stay in the system, which they have a right to do. Yet we have to build an alternative, an option, a parallel to this.
Sure.
And move on. We deserve it. I really feel that.
Yes, we do. And you know what, Jan? When I was a little kid, my dad would sometimes bring us kids to go visit with his friends. And he had this friend named Herman that he worked with. He was a tool maker as well. My dad was a tool maker. And we go to his shop, and he was also an inventor. And he invented these different gadgets, these different plastic gadgets to take a ketchup bottle cap off and different things like that. But what he was working on in his garage was a perpetual motion machine. And he said that he had it working for like 13 days and then it stopped. But it was so exciting to see something like that as a kid. I really thought that was going to be a reality within years. But it's been many years since then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's true. Even my own father, he's not alive anymore, but he was very inventive, very smart man. He was an engineer, electrical engineer. And he invented, you ever see in the bathroom these heaters on the ceiling with a fan in the middle? A little fan in the middle?
Sure.
My father invented that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was ripped off from him.
Oh, no.
By somebody. Yeah.
So you could say your dad has fans all over the country, huh?
All over, yeah. I mean, it was just an incredible invention.
Neat.
I remember going, to his plant where he works, and I saw him testing it for hours. Instead, it kept running and running. He was testing to make sure it worked and did everything he was supposed to do. And then somebody ripped it off. They took it and patented it. He lost it.
Oh, man.
Because at the time, we were only in America for like 4 years at that point.
Okay.
So, my father didn't know too much about the system and how it works. He was a very trusting man,
Sure.
And he got ripped off. But that's okay.
Yeah.
And I am also like him in many ways, but not an electrical engineer. That's what he was.
Right. Well, that's interesting because Andrew's father was also an electrical engineer.
Yes, I know.
That's very interesting.
And but see, Andrew and I our interests are different, but we're intelligent in a different way. Is the only way I can explain it. Like you are and I am and everyone is actually. But because we both shared a similar father, our personalities probably are similar in some ways.
Yeah.
But, our focus seems to be very much the same. But we do care about people quite a bit and have allowed ourselves to be used as experiments. That's what I also noticed about us.
Wow. Now, I have an uncle who is a doctor of mathematics, my Uncle Lynn Irby. Very intelligent. Yes. Yeah, very intelligent man.
Well, you're also very intelligent. Don't give yourself short to it, okay? Your intelligence is another piece of the puzzle.
Well, you know, Jan, I know I was a bright kid. You know why? Because when I was a kid, my mom called me son. That's how I know I'm bright. Why would you call me your son if I wasn't so bright? There you go.
Well, she could have called you noon as an infection.
Yeah. There you go.
But yeah, it's all good, Aaron. It's all in the interest of good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we also need to have a role, we have in the whole picture. And I feel that, it's time for us to start realizing that we really are a civilization.
Yeah.
We're not separate pieces. We're not, different races, even though, we chose to be. But that was for different experiences. But before we were human, this color or that color, we're non-physical souls, spirits.
Mm-hmm.
That's who we really are. And that's who we'll be forever. As I said, once you exist, you always exist. So you cannot not exist anymore. It's not possible.
And if we all work together to make the world better for future generations, then it'll keep getting better, right?
Yeah, the better thing is, I'm not sure what that means, because sometimes I see something not better occur, and I realize that becomes a better event because it teaches that person something.
Mm-hmm.
From, you might say, negative perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So even that negative can be converted into a positive when a person realizes that it's an opportunity, rather than needing to be one side or the other.
Right.
And that's what happens. As soon as one identifies as an opportunity, it literally becomes that. It has to, because that's how you believe it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because you no longer believe it to be one side or the other. And that's, the primary issue with this centralized system. Everything is polarized. Everything takes a side. Like they feel like they have to take a side. But when they realize that, you're both sides rather than one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So to look at like that, from that point of view, that, you're both sides. There's no one side. And I think you learn things differently. Because then, when you have encounters with other individuals, you don't have to choose a side that they belong to. Because you realize, whatever they believe is for their evolution, so it must be right.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to how we started today, the difference between judgment and criticism.
Mm-hmm.
When we learn not to be critical or criticize anyone, that's a big step. A very big step.
Yeah.
And that takes time to practice. Because you learn to polarize the world, like we said, and in that kind of a reality, most individuals pick a side because they think they have to.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't. Because you both sides. It's what I find amusing about this political arena that we're in. They all seem to be pointing somewhere else to someone else being responsible for what's going on. And I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense because I notice that the accusers, more often than not, exactly what they're doing. They're accusing the other person of what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But of course, they won't admit it because I think this is kind of childish and adolescent behavior when individuals haven't quite grown up yet to realize that they're responsible for what they do. And I think that'll be the key. Is when when people realize that they really are responsible for everything in their life because of the choices they made, not because of anything anyone did to them. Because no one could do anything to you unless you agree for it to occur.
Mm-hmm.
So evolution is what we're doing. Discussing, debating the projects. They're in some way evolutionary, even if they never happen. Because I realize that even if this doesn't happen within my lifetime, which I don't know if it will or won't, I feel it will, but again, nothing is for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that eventually, if I'm not here, someone's going to see all the things that we've been doing, Aaron, discussing, and taped and recorded.
Yeah.
And someone's going to see it and say, damn, that's a good idea. We should do this now. And then they may do it in that timing.
Yes.
So it's exposing this idea of becoming fully self-sustaining society. But we have to build a foundation to actually live in that kind of environment. It cannot be done in this environment. It's too self-serving. That's not going to help the collective. Even though that's what they always say. We're doing it for the people. Yeah, right.
Right.
But we're not doing it is the people who are in our house. People who live with us. Not the rest of you.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, let me check and see if anyone's called in. Okay. No one's called in yet. I just checked.
It's okay.
Oh. And Deplora Laura is going to be listening, and she's got to go finish her enchiladas. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. Yeah. Yeah, we have a great audience here. We have the people always comment. Our chats are like, we have the best chat experience on the interwebs. So there you go. The best people somehow find their way here. And that's just fabulous. So thank you everyone for being here and checking us out.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, my friend Sean, who is from Sri Lanka, did share the information with people from Sri Lanka about this particular program.
Oh, good.
So, yes, I thank him for that. It's very kind of them to have done that. And also want to thank all of you who have joined us from that communication with Sean. Thank you. Because we care about Sri Lanka because it is part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to attend to its pain right now. And there is a way to help and fix it. And it'll take our effort to do it. The administration there is not going to do it. Because they don't know how. And the only way to do know is to continue to be dependent on some importer or exporter to raise the money for their country. But that will not bring long-term sovereign existence. And the T.W.I.N.S projects will do that.
Interesting.
So I'm looking forward to seeing if anyone connects with their new administration that's coming up and see if we can get them to start a conversation with us.
Yeah.
Because I would appreciate that.
I was thinking about these systems, the way you're describing them, where each one is, going to be different because it's going to have different people making decisions about what all is contained. So each one's going to have their own little personality. So they're not all going to be the same. They might sort of look the same from the outside, but on the inside, they're going to be different, aren't they?
That's right. Because part of the idea is to also blend with the culture where we're building these.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to make it totally foreign to a place.
Mm-hmm.
You want the people to have some level of comfort about the environment that they're coming into.
Mm-hmm.
Because, a lot of the world, if not most of the world, is really food markets. They're not supermarkets like we have in America. They're open food markets.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the kind of reality that we're probably going to have to include in these projects. And not all of them are going to be 5 square miles. Some of them are going to be 3 square miles, depending on where it is and the size of the community nearby. So that'll be the difference in size. But there'll be some things that are always going to be consistent in all of it, which is the vertical farms. There's always going to be in every unit, no matter what size.
Sure.
That That's very important. Water protection is going to be in every unit. Again, it's necessary. And this is the kind, and power production also. Every unit will have. And everything else will be subject to the local environment where we happen to be building these particular units. But we want to be as much as we can consistent with the culture of where we're building these. Because we don't want to be totally foreign.
Right.
We want people to be comfortable being able to go into the unit and feel like they're home, they're basically at home. And eventually there'll be a lot of people living in these units. There'll be a lot of construction internally.
Mm-hmm. I got up on the screen right now are some vertical farms, indoor vertical farms. Very, very nice.
Yes.
That's the way to do it. Look at that. Incredible.
We have them all. We have everything available.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of organizing it in a logical sequence, which is what I'm doing right now, which is beginning with exposing the idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone will hear it who's interested in joining in and will contact me. And by the way, anyone who wants to contact me should do it through twinsprojects@yahoo.com. That's the best way. And make the subject matter the Twins Projects. And then I'll know that it's from somebody of interest and will not delete it.
Twins Projects at Yahoo?
Yes, twinsprojects@yahoo.com.
Okay, we'll put that in the Twins Projects. There you go. And Combat Carl, welcome, buddy. Thanks, Mr. Combat Carl.
Okay.
And looks like Joe Pulowski also is here. Welcome, Joe. Welcome to the program. Yeah. Yeah, these vertical farms, and they use, of course, the domes are going to use sunlight, right? But if it's indoor, they use these LEDs that seem to work very well and super efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes.
Very interesting stuff. Yeah, interesting. Well, let's see here. All right. We just put the link in again for people if they want to call in and ask questions about the Twins Project.
Yeah, because I'm willing to send them a copy of the proposal for Sri Lanka or whatever location they would like to see, because I can always wrap one up. It will take me a few days, of course, but I'm open to doing this for any region or nation that can benefit from something advanced this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see. All right. Well, we'll give them a little bit of time. Usually Combat Carl calls in quite often. He called in the other day. Maybe he'll be chiming in. But if no one calls, that's okay too. Because it just is what it is. We're getting some questions from the chat, so that's good. Getting some back and forth here. But some of these vertical farms look really interesting. Look really, really interesting. Wow. Very neat. I wonder if they have bees too that have to pollinate that stuff.
It depends on what you're producing.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. bees. Yeah, they really are very important, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. Without bees, we wouldn't be eating, and we wouldn't have any honey. That's for sure.
That is true.
Yeah, you know, I used to call honey to my when I was raising my kids. I used to call it
Yeah.
bee spit. You want some bee spit? I don't know if that's really what it is, but it was a funny thing to call it. Anything for a laugh.
Indeed. It's good to laugh. It's very healthy, actually.
Oh yeah, it's the healthiest thing you can do. Yeah,
Yes.
and that's part of the problem with this world. It's getting too darn serious. You know, humor is being
Too many analysts.
yeah.
Too many analysts. Everybody's an expert in something.
Well, you call them analysts, I call them analists. There you go.
I wanted to be kind.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. You know, it's also really an amazing time to be alive because we have the internet. And I don't know about you, Jan, but I marvel daily at what you can find on the internet. It's just amazing. Just amazing. And we have a caller. It's Combat Carl. I think I predicted that. Welcome, Mr. Combat Carl. How you doing?
Why, good evening. Well, I just pulled a muscle on my back earlier tonight, so I'm a little on the stiff side.
Oh no.
Been having lawnmower trouble, and
Uh-oh.
the starter went out on it, so one of the screws is in a really tight position, and I tweaked my back trying to get it out. So.
Oh no.
But why is my camera dark? That's weird.
Yeah, take the tape off of your camera thing.
Yeah, I don't have. That's weird. Let's see. Well, y'all don't need to see my pretty mug tonight anyway. My hair, you know how it is.
So, do you have a question? Do you have a question for Jan?
Well, actually, I missed part of the show because my wife was talking, and it was probably the important part, talking about his twin
Twins project, yeah.
Yeah, T.W.I.N.S project. Yeah, I'm in the dark. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, that's okay.
Let's see. So anyway,
we're talking about Sri Lanka right now. He's talking about putting up one of these things in Sri Lanka.
well, that would be awesome as soon as they finish overthrowing their government.
Well, I don't think I think it could go on during whatever, you know. I don't think it matters as long as you procure the land and get the proper permits. I don't see anything stopping it.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing is, once you overthrow the government, the permits probably won't be necessary.
Hmm.
Most of the world is trying to go less government, less regulation, less oversight, more freedom, more ability. There's still regulations in, you can't, wipe out a species to do something good for the people, but, a balance of nature. And his project, from what I've seen, um, you know, now is his all indoors, uh, the projects, or is it indoor outdoor?
It's all indoor. Each unit is indoor, but the domes are retractable. So you can have exposure to the outdoor.
Right. So my question is Sri Lanka is a tropical terrain, isn't it?
Yes, but you can't rely on their method of production, even though it's very substantial in some cases, because they're very dependent on exporting the products in addition to other imports. Plus, they do have natural resources like oil and gas, which have not been fully exploited at this point, even though there have been conversations in recent years with other end users for the oil and the gas, but nothing has been really done on a major scale yet, as I know.
Right.
So,
But
yeah,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just trying to get caught up.
go ahead.
So now these domes, are they for inhabitants in cities, or to put a population in it, or is it just for agriculture and food?
Each dome, there's several domes in the complex. Each dome covers a different function. Some is for residential, some is for internal vertical farms. Another one is for other functions within the construct. So each domed area is a different function, but collectively they do function as a whole unit.
So I know you've got your heart set on Sri Lanka, but wouldn't anywhere in the Sahara Desert or any part of northern Africa be more ideal?
Again, the whole idea of the T.W.I.N.S project is to build these fully self-sustaining units across the planet. But you can't do that all at one time. So I have chosen to do it a nation or a region at a time. Sri Lanka is just the most recent one that I've drafted. Last 2 weeks ago, I drafted one for Europe, where I suggested that we build 2 T.W.I.N.S complexes, one in Moscow and the other one in Kiev, and unite the 2 of them with the advanced tube transport system and get the countries to focus on constructive things rather than destructive, as right now is the case with the war.
I mean, the aspect of the dome, is it for protection? I mean, or just,
Yes.
Okay, so protection from
protection.
Severe weather.
Protection, yes, from weather, and also from potential intruders of any kind, because there is shield technology that's included in the domes. And they do have a way to create a shield for the entire complex. So that's another function the domes have, is to protect it from the climate and also protect it from potential intruders, because this has to be sovereign territory. It cannot be under any government rule, because the governments have a tendency to change, and the governments who are usually in charge of the nation are not always in the interest of the people, more often in their own interest, in their own connections and their own affiliates. Again, that's not wrong. It's just the way this system works.
Right. And how do you plan on keeping the deep state out of taking control over the domes? I mean, they do work by infiltration. And, say they, want to install a government in there and then, put it in lockdown, and now they have their own little civilization that they get to control.
Well, the domes are retractable, first of all, so they open and close on a regular basis, whatever you want to do with it, because, it depends on what that region wants to do.
No, to be honest, I kind of love the idea, kind of don't love the idea. If it's a harsh terrain like the Sahara Desert, I love the idea. But you're trying to create a civilization, population in a controlled environment. That's not really a good idea. I mean, it has its bonuses. It really does. It has its pluses. Um, but but there's no need for it in an environment that, like a tropical forest, or some place that gets constant rain. um you know the Schumann resonance is extremely important. Life can't exist without it. If your shielding is using electromagnetic waves, it'll interfere with that Schumann resonance. Then you have problems with not only the anything biological inside would suffer from it. So you got your, I don't know if you've taken that in consideration or not, but you've got a lot of pros, and like I said, it does have a lot of pros, but there's a lot of questionable cons going on with this situation and scenario. I mean, like I said, uh, it's a great idea for it's an amazing idea for areas that cannot sustain life to a degree. But if the environment can sustain life, the need for it is is less. Just to be vague.
Uh, Again, I respectfully disagree with your point of view of this in that way, because having life, because you build this in the middle of a desert, like you're saying, is not going to bring a civilization to it, because you're in the middle of a desert. Okay,
But there's already a civilization there.
That's a centralized concept of the system that currently exists. What I'm speaking about with the twins is decentralized. It is not a control system like this one is, where you have a government or that kind of a thing telling everybody what to do and how to do it. Every dome location is under its own jurisdiction. But there is a common understanding, and those who manage these facilities are rotated on a regular basis. So you don't have any control that someone to dominate and take over a facility and make it a personal thing, like is going on with Congress and the administrations in the system. It's the way they operate, which is fine for them. But it won't work in a twins complex, because it must be totally independent and self-sustaining, and not subject to rule by some outside force that has nothing to do with it, nor has any care about it.
Right. I'm laughing because I think I have been programmed by all the movies and TV shows that like Mad Max, or what was that, Divergence. Divergence. They had the big dome, and everything is a wasteland around it. And then, so, the deep state has pre-programmed us for, living in domes after they destroyed, sections of the earth, and brainwash us to believe it's uninhabitable outside. And, they have the full control system. But we haven't seen, one thing we haven't seen is, your idea. Um, so I, it's, I'm open up to it. It's just, there's still that pre-programming that's we've already been exposed to. So, I would love to be exposed to, more information on this. I love the free society, the, rotating of figureheads. And I mean, figureheads should be best of the best. And, once a month or once a quarter, people, should be challenging each other to take that authority role for, a quarter or two, so they can implement new ideas and whatnot. I think that's absolutely amazing. But there's got to be some sort of competition, uh, free, free of thought, free of technology, freedom to advance. Um, you know, one thing about, the society and the world that we've all lived in, and our grandparents have lived in, and their grandparents have lived in. We've never experienced freedom. No one on earth has, outside of the Indian tribes that refuse to interact with Western civilization. They are about the freest people on the planet. They're under constant attack, but they're still free to do what they want, and they advance how they want to advance. For the rest of the world, we've all been manipulated and controlled, and it's on such a severe level in so many aspects of our lives. We can't comprehend what life is like and what life will be like in the upcoming years. So um, I'm excited for any and all change. Anything to get us to break away and expand our consciousness and expand our math, and to relearn our history, and to explore amazing new ideas. Like I said, my only fear for the domes is it's like being in a submarine. It's great that you're in a submarine because you're a mile underneath the ocean. But the problem is you're in a submarine. You know, anything goes wrong, you're dead. Same thing with these domes. They may be have retractable roofs, or energy fields, uh, barriers, but things go wrong. You're in a contained environment. It's not always the greatest thing. Like I said, it's got a lot of great pros to it, but there are cons to it. I like the submarine analogy. You know, and there's. Have you done any research on the underwater bases, the deep underwater bases, where they use
Yeah.
dome technologies?
There's something what you need to understand about the T.W.I.N.S project's idea is not on the bottom of the oceans. That's not what we are floating. These are all floating units. And the only part that's below the surface are the tubes. And they're at least 150 feet down below the surface, because that's where the turbulence is not experienced from the surface, 150 feet down. So that is the idea with the T.W.I.N.S oceanic system, because that's what we want. We don't want to be on the bottom of the ocean. It makes no sense to do that, because if you have floating units, you're not susceptible to Earth movement as you are when you're on the bottom of the ocean on the ground. So there's many other reasons, plus the pressure factor of being deep in the ocean. So all these things don't come into play when you have floating units, which is what the T.W.I.N.S is designed to be, when we do it on the ocean. But first, even though that was my first idea, the oceanic system, and I received a patent for that idea, I realized that I had to design a system for the land, which is what I did, and got another patent a few years after that. And the reason is that I've come to realize that in this world, there's nobody who's going to want to get involved in something unless it's their own personal life is involved with it on land some way where they can benefit immediately. But if you build it in the oceans, as you're seeing here, a display of the unit, the floating unit, that requires a psychological education of the masses, of the public, to inhabit and live in the oceans this way. And eventually it would. And as you see on this figure 1 drawing, there are 6 domes around the central dome. The same concept would apply to the land units, except that the tubes will be underground for a short distance until they're able to be brought above ground to complete their journey to wherever they're destined to go. So all of this has been thought through to a great degree. And I do feel that the land system is the way we need to start, because the oceanic system is just too far away for most people to participate in. But if you talk to them about a place where they live, be it the United States, Sri Lanka, India, anywhere in the world, then they can see and relate it to their own personal life and how they can benefit on a personal level and don't have to go some distance to experience. So this is why I'm focused now on the land program and getting nations to participate in some way, getting them to agree and understand how it works, and getting them to understand how the money's going to be raised to do it. And it's not going to need to be raised in their facility, because most countries do not have billions of dollars sitting aside to use for such projects. But what they do have is natural resources.
Yet, I mean, once Sri Lanka is free of deep state, once the world is free of deep state, you got to understand that they control 99% of the money on the planet. When the planet regains that 99% of that money, everybody's going to have more than enough money to do whatever they want. Major projects like that, not a problem. If you get the will and the motivation of the people, money will be no object for anything like that. Like I said, we are on the breaking point, the end of this insane, very sickening control system. This control system is going to go away. And the people of the planet Earth, mankind is going to experience, at least in our genetic line, is going to experience our first golden age. So projects like this are absolutely amazing. I'm actually really thrilled that you're want to do this. It'll be a unique experience for, people that live around one of these domes and for the people that live in one of these domes. But a lot of the financial problems that the world has experienced our entire lives is coming to an end. If have you researched or have you heard of the birth certificate system?
The what system?
The birth certificate system.
No.
Okay. Do you have a birth certificate?
It's something that you need to know about me. I don't know if you research me or not. I come from the banking world, okay? And I know that world extremely, extremely well.
Cool. So I might be able to teach you something.
I was a commodity broker. I was a securities broker. I was a securities teacher. I was teaching potential students to get their Series 7 license and so forth. So, and I was a commercial loan officer. So
have you heard of the form 1099 Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie?
No. I've heard of 1099s, yes, but not specifically the one you're referring to.
All right. So the 1099 is an IRS form that is it's a transaction form for the individual person with a birth certificate to access the trust that they created in your name when you were born. And the first trust number is your social security number. Okay. That 1099A is filled out either online or by hand, mailed to the IRS. The IRS takes it and sends it to the Treasury. The Treasury takes it after 60 business days, which of course could take up to 8 months, they will send you the money to your trustee, and they can purchase whatever you were going to purchase: car, truck, home, remodeling, pay your bills, whatever. A lot of this information is starting to hit the public. It's been secret for a very, very long time. But if you've known about the 1099 IRS form, then you've been utilizing other people's trusts, or have had access to other people's trust at one time or another. That's the sole purpose of the 1099A form, is to gain access to these Social Security basic, well, it's not Social Security, but these birth certificate, I don't even know what it's called, but these trusts of the people of the world. So every nation that has a birth certificate system is in a slave system. They take out $1 million loan, and then they start trading these Social Security numbers. Every, they sell these numbers in bulk to different corporations. These corporations take it and trade it on the stock market. So they start gaining money. When somebody dies, they pay back all that person's debt. They pay back the $1 million loan that they have, and then they get to collect, spend, and trade the interest off of their life savings that they never knew that they had.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's part of this system's gimmick, I'll say. The system is not straight up. The IRS doesn't belong to the United States. It belongs to the IMF. It's a foreign enterprise.
Yep.
And they were structured in order to basically scam money off the public, and it does a good job of it. So we're basically been imprisoned by the system, by the monetary system, being held hostage. And so every time they want to get a piece of the action, they make a law, because the government is involved with them, and it's part of the program, if you will, of taking money from the public. And we've seen it over and over. We've seen it in Congress. We've seen it even with this administration, with the rumors and stuff about the Biden family activities and stuff like that. But again, if it's true or not, it doesn't matter. What is important is that it is a corrupt system, and it seems to be operating on a regular basis. And they keep making up stuff like 1099s and all these other kind of gimmicks to get people to get involved with, so they can figure out another way to get their money. I guarantee you it's not too good.
So you've never heard of the Setback Trust? I can't pronounce it. It's Setback Trust. It's freaking French.
Yes, what about it?
Okay, well, that's the trust that I'm talking about.
Okay, I understand that. But I don't know if anybody's trust has got billions of dollars to work with this program.
Not billion. I mean, some people will have up to $1 billion or close. I don't know. I mean, but from what I've heard, it's, a few million to a few $100 million. It depends on how many times how many SESQV trusts or SESQV numbers you've been given throughout your life, depending on your life's experience, how many times you've been traded, and so forth and so on. I'm still researching this, but I've heard about it for years, and I'm starting to do my deep dive into it right now, and a lot of other people are getting their trustee certificates, learning how to become a trustee, and then they're accessing this money. And so far, there's at least a dozen people that have got their trustee certificates, their LLC, and their IRS number. I forgot what it was called. And they've been filling out these 1099A forms for people, and people are buying homes and cars, and paying off bills, and they don't know exactly how much they have in their account, but no one's been denied yet.
Okay, I understand.
So what I'm trying to say is, if that money is out there for each individual person, and this corrupt system is burning to the ground, when it's done and over with, that money's still there. Regardless of what form it takes, those trusts, it's a trust is, really hard to break. That's why you need a trustee to gain access to the money, because, the individual person that is on the trust can't touch it. It has to go through a third party to gain access to that money. Now, if the US dollar crashes and they come up with something else, those trusts are still in place. It's not reliant on the USD. It's relying on whatever current, monetary system that's in play, because it's not just the United States. This is in Sri Lanka. This is in Cuba. This is in anywhere where they are monitoring the populations of the planet. So globally, there's going to be more money than anyone is going to know what to do with. And the more people learn about this, their SESQ trusts, the more people that are going to have access to that money. That's all I'm saying. So, hey, knock it out. Sorry, dogs took off after a raccoon.
Oh no. Do you need to go?
No. I just opened the door, let them out, and they saw the raccoon. It was like, Pew! They'll be back in a minute. They don't harm animals. They just roll them over, sniff them, lick them, whatever.
Okay.
But anyway, so I think it's great that you have all that experience and that are pushing this. What is your so I guess my question at this point would be for you. If you've got a green light across the board and all your dreams come true, what is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear?
Biggest fear.
Is that what your question is?
Yes, sir.
I have no fear. I don't live in that world. Sorry.
Very
Okay.
good.
So you haven't planned for any.
It's not logical. It's not logical in my world, because if you live in fear, you do not disappoint yourself and create fear events. And I don't live that way.
All right. Okay.
All
So how about, what is your greatest setback? Fear is the wrong term. Hey, come on, boys.
I honestly have no fear, because I really believe that everything in my life is my creation.
I apologize. I used the wrong word. Please forgive me. Take the FEA word out of the dictionary. I just meant, what are some of the greater setbacks that you foresee, that you've planned for?
Again, I don't plan on setbacks, because if I did, I won't disappoint myself. It's just not logical, honestly, because come back, Carl, the world is made of what we believe to be true. And I do not know how this is going to come together at all, because I don't. The only thing I do know is what energy and effort I put forward to make it come together. How it happens, I have an idea, but it's not necessarily the way it is. You see, because something comes up that I didn't plan on that it made it happen. So I don't plan in detail how it's going to come together. But I do know it's going to take the cooperation of several individuals, because that's how it'll happen.
Absolutely. And so it sounds like faith.
Yeah.
All right. So I understand your uh, your how far you've planned to head into this. All right. But you know, I thought you were a little further in the developing stage.
Well, he's got patents. He's got patents, and he's just started to talk about it on this program. This is our, what,
Maybe.
second, third, or fourth show?
Oh, that is awesome.
So, yeah, he's just beginning the public awareness part of it. Isn't that right, Jan?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Right.
I'm not selling anything. Understand that, Carl. I'm simply sharing information of what I have experienced, and then I also am bringing forward what I believe to be a great solution to a problem that cannot be changed here. So we have to build something new, because this system cannot be changed. Even though, you have another guy next week or lady next week coming up saying, I have another idea for this society. And they tell you all this good things or bad things about what people have done. And at the end of the day, when they get into position, they're doing the same thing. They're chasing the money, power, because that's what they're after. They don't really want to help. So because of that, I felt so strongly that I came up with this twins idea, because it needs to be built from scratch. And it makes every country self-sustaining eventually. So we no longer have to depend on another country to survive, or to have enough food, or to whatever. It makes no sense. We're very capable beings. There's no reason why we can't build a facility to be self-sustaining that will open our minds and our abilities, and we start to travel to other places in this universe, which we will. We didn't start here. We were planted here. Mm-hmm. Like all the civilizations are everywhere in the universe.
Well, and what I like about or love about the idea is having them, around the world and different locations is, each of these dome environments create their own culture. The foods that they grow, the people that are inhabited there, they bring in their music and their religious beliefs and their artistry and each individual little cities. And I'm assuming that trade between these environments is going to be a high priority. I mean, yes. I understand that they're self-supporting, but it's like India is known for its curry, and it's not really grown too many places. So we go to India for our curry,
Yes, and spices. Just like Sri Lanka, all that area does that. So there's got to be a way to distribute it, to share it with everybody in the world. Right now, there is no such way except by airplanes and buses and cars and trucks and things like that, and trains and boats. Very inefficient. Very inefficient.
We're driving in antiques, man. I mean, all right. They had electric scooters, electric cars, electric, sidewalks that just moved on its conveyor belt sidewalks. They had all that in the late 1800s. Okay, the deep state, our slave masters, got rid of all that awesome technology. All right, they filed it away, burned the books, destroyed everything, and then they gave us these fossil fuel vehicles to run off of because they can charge us money for that. So once the system falls, technology is going to skyrocket. We're already learning about the toroidal field. We're learning how important the toroidal field is and how everything is created from it, and the electromagnetic or magnetic electric universe that we live in. So energy is free. Water purification is free. Anti-gravity is free. these devices and these technologies are well known, even to the, I mean, the craziest thing I heard about the New York Buffalo shooting was that the reason it took place at that particular store was because a gentleman was building in his garage a vehicle that ran off of water, and he was getting ready to release his patent to the public. And he's going to sell it, but he was still going to sell it to the public. And he had a working prototype in his garage. He was one of the 10 victims.
Yeah,
kind of bizarre. So all of so with
well,
these designs in his garage, he's not the only one. A lot of people don't go after these ideas because we know what the consequences are. You know, every you look at the history of any engine that runs off of water, they have been threatened, blackmailed, or eradicated. So once that threat is no longer over our heads, um, even if you don't believe in the hidden patents of Nikola Tesla or all of these technologies, we're extremely creative. We'll develop it in a matter of months, especially when money is not so tightly controlled. I mean, that's the biggest thing. All of our innovative ideas are put on back burner because we don't have the finances to take care of it. Because the finances of the world are held so tightly. I mean, and it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's going to collapse. Once it collapses, well, guess what happens to all the money? It comes back to the people. They're going to have the money to build and invest in what they want to invest and build in. And the technologies and stuff is going to explode.
And the public is going to stay slaves in this system. That's how it works. It does not share. That's not what it's about. It'll tell you it'll share because that's how it gets your money. But at the end of the day, it never shares because it only cares about its own profits. Mm-hmm. And if you think it's otherwise, good luck with that.
Yeah.
And
well,
it's not
out of the people I've met in my life, the ones that I call friends or enjoy their company, if you gave them triple their money, they would spend that money on other people. They would invest that money to make other people happy. Those are the people that I know. That's me. I mean, if I have more money than I need, which isn't much, I mean, good God, I live on Social Security and disability, man. But if I have more than I need to live on a daily basis, I help other people. That's what I do with the money because I don't care about the money. I just need basic necessities of life. If I want a garden, I just need just enough money to buy the seeds and the soil and whatever I need to build my garden. Anything else, I don't need it. So somebody else can use it to lift themselves up, better themselves, or at least put a smile on their face for a day. I don't know how many times I've just bought lunch for somebody or bought somebody's entire shopping cart or whatever, just because I had a little extra money. And there are more people like that on this planet than there are stuck in this me satanistic vibration that the world has propagated on the people. I mean, there's a population of the people that they'll take and take and take and take. It doesn't matter how much they got, they'll still take. But the rest of the population, the larger population, your patriot population, all the patriots of all the world, they need just enough to make themselves happy, and anything extra goes to those less fortunate. even if they made themselves less fortunate, even if they are a take, they patriots will still give to them. It's the love that God gave us all. So, like I said, this you know, just the idea of what you're putting out there is a gorgeous sign to the whole world that things are changing, because you're not afraid to do it. You're not afraid to get assassinated for it. You're not afraid to get blackmailed for it, because that threat is lesser and lesser and lesser. So more people are going to be coming out like you with amazing ideas like
The Twins Project.
that's Mrs. calling. She doesn't know I'm online.
Well, that's okay, Carl, because we're gonna wrap this up here after we get Jan's response to that, because we're going a little over 2 hours, and we want to keep this a shorter episode. So
Okay.
so thank you very much, Carl, for calling in, and we'll probably see you next time.
Yes, sir. God bless you. Thank you so much. I apologize if I was a Debbie Downer at all tonight.
No,
Like
don't
I
worry
said,
about it. We love you. Don't worry.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Carl.
Take care. All right. All right, Jan. Well, we did it again, another episode. 210.
Great show as always.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate being able to do this. Thank you again, Aaron, very much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. All right, everybody. I want to give a special thanks to our mods. You guys rock. Mud Rabbit, Dark Brain, Operation Shutdown, and Catherine Weiss. And a special thanks to Catherine Weiss for her generous super chat. So thank you very much, everybody. Don't forget to join us on Wednesday and Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because Thursday is another Andrew Bashago show. So tune in for that. And any last words,
Yes.
Jan?
No, I thank you very much again. I look forward to your Thursday program with Andy. I hear that. And I'm looking forward for all of us to continuing our adventure in this world, to make it adventurous and advanced, not only on a personal level, but also for our collective level. There's a wonderful civilization called human beings.
Yes. Well, that's a beautiful way to end it. Beautiful way to end it. Thank you very much, Jan. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. And till next time, peace in.
Peace.
Yes. Okay, I had to put that first. Peace in.